Welcome to the sixth episode of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. Today is November 6th, and we're stepping straight into the 1970s. A Germany cut in two, the wall still hard and high, families separated, letters censored, and constant tension with Stasi spying and keeping files in the East, and the threat of terrorism lingering in the West, with the tragedy from the 1972 Olympic Games always on the mind. Ossies and Wessies were staring each other down across a concrete scar. The stadiums didn't float above any of that. They absorbed it. They echoed it. But first, a quick rewind and why there were two Germanys. From the ashes of World War II, the Allies carved Germany into four occupation zones: American, British, French, and Soviet. In 1949, the three Western zones coalesced into the Federal Republic of Germany, or West Germany. The Soviet zone became the German Democratic Republic, also known as East Germany. Berlin itself was split the same way. That, quote, temporary partition hardened into the Cold War map, with the Iron Curtain, checkpoints, and the wall. East Germany's new FA applied to FIFA on February 6, 1951. West Germany's FA, the DFB, objected. West Germany already sat in FIFA's chair, but the application stuck. Provisional acceptance in October 51, full membership the following July, and with East Germany's first international soon thereafter in October 1952. East Germany didn't enter the 1954 World Cup, but West Germany did, and famously authored Das Wunder von Bern, the miracle of Bern, coming from behind 2-0 to beat the Great Hungary 3-2. In qualifiers, the Saarland, then a FIFA member of its own, even faced West Germany in a taut mini-group, a reminder of how messy German football was in the 1950s. And if you wonder about Saar and football right after World War II, go back and listen to the very first episode of OTD from November 1st. For this OTD episode, however, the flashpoint that set the tone came in Hamburg on June 22, 1974 at 9:03 p.m. We are at the Volksparkstadion. It's the World Cup group stage, West Germany versus East Germany. More than 60,000 in the stands witnessing what turned out to be the only senior meeting in history between these two nations. With geopolitics all around before, during, and after this match, and an expected West German victory, it's a complete shock when in the 77th minute, Jürgen Sparwasser goes in and scores the only goal that evening. East 1, West 0. West Germany reshuffles the team and recovered to win the tournament. East Germany bow out in the second group phase, but that night in Hamburg belonged to East Germany. Prior to the World Cup, Bayern München had won the European Cup and 1. FC Magdeburg the Cup Winners' Cup. As such, they were supposed to meet in the UEFA Super Cup. It never happens, officially because no convenient date could be found. Unofficially, the Cold War's calendar had, well, other editors. Now roll a few months. The 1974-75 European Cup draws puts them together in the round of 16. This time, there's no docking it. But who were these teams? So Bayern München in the mid-1970s were comprised of Sepp Maier, Franz Beckenbauer, Paul Breitner, Uli Hoeneß, and Gerd Müller. Club face of a nation that won the European Championship in 1972 and the 1974 World Cup, and would three-peat Europe in 74, 75, and 76. Then 1. FC Magdeburg at the same time. Well, you could say it was the Trabant that roared. Triple East German champions in 72, 74, and 75. 4 times winners of the East German Cup. The highlight of all was the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup in May 1974, beating AC Milan 2-0, the only major UEFA trophy claimed by an East German club. Korb, Saf, Seguin, Pomerenke, Hoffmann, and Sparwasser, who bended cross-border geopolitics with his runs. This wasn't just tactics. It was ideology in studs. The professional Bundesliga and Bayern's European machine on one side, the state amateur system of the GDR on the other. Players officially amateurs, in reality full-time athletes embedded in a national sport complex that also powered Olympic medal tables. In men's football alone, East Germany won bronze in 1972, gold in 76 and silver in 1980. Germany, East and West, ruled the 1970s. So when players shook hands, it wasn't just tactics, it was two systems, one pitch. But back to the clash. So first leg, Munich, October 23, 1974. In the first minute, Bayern's Johnny Hansen scored an own goal from a deflection. It got worse. Right before halftime, who else but Sparwasser increased Magdeburg's lead, and the sensation loomed. Then second half turned everything around. The goal-getter, Gerd Müller, converted a penalty in the 51st minute and added a typical Müller-Tor after a pass from Beckenbauer 10 minutes later, 2-2. In the 69th minute, it was then Magdeburg's turn to score an own goal, and Bayern edged it 3-2 on the night, unconvincingly. So it came down to the second leg, Magdeburg, on this day, November 5, 1974. In the east and under the lights, and the few traveling Bayern supporters under constant surveillance by the Stasi. Such were the tragic circumstances. The match started much like the first leg 2 weeks prior, with Magdeburg on the front foot. But Bayern struck first, in the 22nd minute, and of course it was Gerd Müller, who took Bayern to a 1-0 halftime lead. 10 minutes into the second half, he made it 2-0 for the defending champions. Yet right after kickoff, Magdeburg reduced the lead. Who else but Sparwasser? But the gap was too big between Bundesliga's full-time professionals and the state amateurs, despite their extreme motivation to defeat their Western brethren. And so, Bayern held tight and won the night 2-1 and the tie 5-3 in aggregate, and will retain the European Cup in spring 75. Symbolically, it feels like the West answering Hamburg. Across the 70s and 80s, the draw kept making the wall feel thin. Before Bayern and Magdeburg clashed, the very first East-West club meeting arrived in the 1973-74 European Cup, Bayern versus Dynamo Dresden. The first leg in Munich ended 4-3. Across the tie, it finished a wild 7-6 on aggregate. The football was glorious. The logistics were delicate. Stasi files show surveillance of Bayern fans in Dresden, pictures of arrivals, hotel stakeouts, the works. That's how afraid the authoritarian East German state was, and how choreographed these crossings were. Then the Lokomotive Leipzig party trick, twice sending West German clubs home, Fortuna Düsseldorf in 73-74 and Werder Bremen in 83-84. One Ossie club, two Wessies scalps, a line the fans still savor. And finally, the one you tell to people who claim they have seen it all, Bayer Uerdingen versus Dynamo Dresden in March 1986, the miracle of the Grotenburg. Uerdingen were buried, 5-1 down on aggregate with half an hour left, then scored in avalanches and won the tie 7-5. Wild. The wall falls in November 1989. In February 1990, the qualifying draw for the 1992 Euro had put East and West Germany in the same group again. Once reunification was set for October 3, 1990, East Germany's matches became friendlies, including the Euro qualification opener versus Belgium on September 12, 1990. It turned out to be GDR's final match. They won 2-0. Every other GDR qualifier, including the two East versus West fixtures, was scratched. The unified Germany simply took over West Germany's schedule. Within a month, a technically West German squad wins the 1990 World Cup, but the future is already mixed. Eastbourne talents, think of the coming wave with Matthias Sammer in the early 90s, would soon wear the same crest, and the anthem about Einigkeit, Recht und Freiheit, or unity and justice and freedom, would finally describe a single team again. But why does November 1974 still hit? Because it's the club-level echo of Hamburg 74, Sparwasser's summer shock, followed by Bayern's autumn answer. Because it's a snapshot of how two football cultures at full tilt, Bayern's iron logic versus Magdeburg's high watermark for the East. And because the We Can't Find a Date Super Cup that never happened captures the Cold War better than any speech. Sometimes even football's simple handshake got complicated and lost in politics. No one embodies this OTD about East versus West more than Magdeburg's Jürgen Sparwasser. The European Cup, the match winner against West Germany, and his goals against Bayern, all in the span of a few months in 1974. It all made him famous. Well, as much as such was allowed in the East German party state. After his active career, he taught physical education at Magdeburg's University, where the communist state came calling for him again, wanting him to coach his old club. He refused and was threatened with being ostracized from society, as had happened to Magdeburg's winning coach from the mid-1970s. That knowledge drove Sparwasser and his wife in 1988 to defect during a visit to West Germany, where he was welcomed and taken in by Karl-Heinz Feldkamp, the coach of Eintracht Frankfurt, Eintracht, as in peaceful coexistence. As Bayern and Magdeburg displayed over 2 legs in the fall of 1974, when German football was über alles. That's all for the 6th episode of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history, Bayern versus Magdeburg, and the long shadow it cast across a divided country's game. If you got corrections or family story from either side of the wall, please email otd@17lawsguy.com. Follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, review, and share with a historian in your life. Tomorrow, November 7, Everton versus Leeds in 1964, a First Division powder keg at Goodison Park that helped spur the label Dirty Leeds. The ref marched both teams off mid-game to cool down. Leeds still nicked it 1-0. We'll unpack how one afternoon branded a club. See you then.